to my craft room. Thank you for joining me today. I really do appreciate it. I found in my stash that I have a stencil with balloons from Norbert and Tulla's birthday party balloons. And it's a 6x6 stencil. And I wanted to do something different. I didn't want to do any ink blending on the stencil. So I thought, well, let's emboss it. Well, how can we emboss it? It's not an embossing folder. We're going to do what they call dry embossing. Now there's a couple ways you can dry emboss. You can dry emboss with a stylus pen and go around each of the little images, and it will also emboss onto the paper, which just means that you're denting or putting the, oh, how do I want to explain it? You're putting the detail on the paper. You're pressing down and it is creating that image. There's probably a better way to put it. Anyway, so that's what dry embossing is. And the other way we could do it is with our die cutting machines, which is the way I'm going to do it. But for today's video, I'm going to do something a little bit different. I did not want to emboss the whole card. I wanted to leave a section of the card that is not embossed so that I could put a stamped image right on it. I was thinking if I could do a 1-layer card, I can just stamp that image on the spot that we are not embossing. Well, how do we do that? Well, we have to create a shim and a template and a shim. And so I'll go ahead and I'll show you how to do that. And then I'll go into, after that, I'll show you how we're going to go ahead and make this card. So I hope you liked this video. If so, please hit the like button and the subscribe. I would love to have you join me each week. As you saw, I made a template out of just some, you can use cereal box. I think this is just some packaging from very thin cardboard, chipboard, very thin. And then I die cut the circle out of it just in the size that I want. You can do any size. This is I did it for a 4x5 1/4 card. So I cut my paper down to that size. So it's an exact, and I centered the circle right in the middle of that. Now you could off center, make a sample and make it off center. You could do an oval, a square. I happen to have this one for the circle. And then I had one previously that I've had for years and I redid it and I just put save because somebody's going to see this cardboard and think that it's garbage, and it's a good template. Now they probably sell these type of templates that you can run through your embossing machines, but I just found any type of a box will work, and it doesn't even have to be solid. You could cut it out of anything, and that way you have the template for what you need anytime. I'm going to dry emboss the balloons on this card, and because I have the circle, it shouldn't emboss in that area. It should leave that with no balloons so that you could put a sentiment or another circle or a sticker or whatever you want in that area, and the balloons will just be surrounding it. I have my Anna Griffin Empress, and for that sandwich, the sandwich for the Anna Griffin I found was the A plate, the metal shim, the magnetic sheet, then put your stencil down, then your card, and put the shim on the top like that, and then back to the A plate, and then run it through. You can't see that, but when we get to the coloring, you'll be able to see the embossing a lot better. Back at my desk now, and I wanted to show you, you probably still can't see. You can see a little bit the embossing of the balloons. So what I gathered then to now is I've got my stencil. We're going to use that back again. I've got some Tombo what do they call those? Watercolor pens. And I just grabbed a bunch of different colors for balloons. I have a water brush that I use. I gathered a jelly roll. One is going to be a glitter, like a gold glitter, and then I have a black jelly roll. And if I can, I'm going to use some glossy accents on the balloons. And I think that's all the products that we need for this. I am going to also use a tissue. It's not in case I sneeze. Achoo! I'm going to blot the water from the balloons on here. For this project, because the paper warps during the embossing process, I'm really tape down the stencil, and I'll probably have to hold it down as well in order to get the look that I'm looking for. But the stencil, I lined it up back onto where the embossed balloons are. So hopefully you can see it you can't see it, but in person you can see where the edges are for the balloons, and I just made it sure that it lined up perfectly again. Now I do have to make sure that I don't do that circle that's in there. Here's my stencil again, and you can see which ones you're not going to color in because you're going to be covering that up. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the green. It's a green, and I'm just going to go ahead and I'll just start on the bottom, do the little tie part, and then take the water brush, make sure it's clean, and then bring out that green to the top. And it gives that variegated. Now if you get too much water on here, you can blot it with the tissue and it gives a different effect as well. But for that one, I'm going to leave that the way it is. You just want to make sure you go along the edge. And again, I'm going to hold it down and then just do the little tie, get the green on there, and then put the water. Okay, blot off the green. And go ahead and use yellow. And you can go back if you want it a little bit darker. I'll do a yellow over here. Now I have two yellows, 550 and 62. I think I'm going to use the second one. Wipe off the, I'm going to do an orange. No, I'm going to do blue. So there I added a little too much water. The red with the water kind of turns out to be like a pink. And then just kind of blot it. And I'll do a red down here. Orange. I have a purple too. I'll just throw that in up here. Okay, so let's see. Before I lift this up, because I think I've got the circle right in here that I need to do this one just on the border, I think I will do the orange. Just right up to that line. And for the string, I'm going to use the jelly roll. You should just be able to follow the line. It's hard with the stars to know. I think I'm just going to go ahead and take this up and take the gold glitter pen, go over them like that instead of the stencil. I don't know if you could see that, but in person the glitter pen does show up. So next, what I'm going to do is take the glossy accents and put them on the balloons to give it that extra pop before, and then I'll put that on and then I'll let it dry, and then when it dries we'll come back and do the center sentiment and put it on the backing. So as I was completing the card and I was putting it on the black layered background, I decided that I didn't like the way it was going to look if I just stamped in that circle that we did not emboss through. I felt that it needed the black border, so I die cut some circles, one using the exact same size, but it had a scalloped edge, and then one inside that image to make it a little bit smaller. And I took a wood block that I have with the word dream. I used the Tombo markers and I just replicated the exact same colors that I had on the balloons, and I stamped that right on the dyed circle die. I just felt that if I had a flower or another stamp or a bigger stamp, it would have taken up that whole circle that we had not embossed and looked better. But for this card, I felt it needed to have that border around it, which is why it was not the original plan. I was not intending to use this circle die, but things happen and you can change it up as you go along. The other thing I want to note is that when you're using glossy accents, I noticed that when I let this dry, it had some bubbles in it that I didn't capture and I didn't pop and I didn't clean up before it finally dried. So you just want to be careful with the glossy accents that you don't get the bubbles. So overall, the card came out really cute. It just is not exactly how we had intended, but then we can go ahead and put this on a white card base, or we could put it on any other color card base that we wish to put that. It has a lot of options for all the different colors. Thank you for sharing this time with me. I hope you can find your dream balloon and it brings you peace and joy. In the meantime, have a great day, and I hope you have a chance to be in your craft room.